Keith Robbins. I'm a junior at UConn in civil engineering.
My name is Austin Adil. I am a sophomore as well.
I'm Nick Massey. I'm going into senior at UConn studying civil engineering.
So throughout the majority of our internship, we worked with Hector Rivera, one of the construction department's field engineers. With Hector, we primarily focused on 3 projects located in Bloomfield, Rocky Hill, and West Hartford. And these 3 projects are managed by Tom Robbins, one of the department's 3 construction managers. We also worked with 3 of the department's inspectors, Danny Fazzino, Randy Ross, and Randy Brickell, who watch over the work being done and make sure it's being done correctly. And lastly, we also worked with the survey department, primarily Mark Taylor and John Kula, who complete preliminary field work prior to the beginning of the construction project.
So for a majority of our internship, we spent a lot of time with Hector out at Cottage Grove up in Bloomfield. And up there, they're basically installing almost 3/4 of a mile of water main up there. And I'm lucky enough to be in my 2nd year in construction services, so they were just starting this at the end of my internship last year. And it's cool to be there for the beginning, and now they're just wrapping it up, so it's kind of full circle. And another thing that was attached to this project is another about 1,000 feet on Talca View Road, which was pretty much done by the time we started. So, and one really cool thing about this project was that they had to install water main underneath this railroad crossing here. And they decided to, instead of doing a typical cut and trench in the road, they didn't want to disturb the railroad, so they basically decided to do what's called a pipe jacking, which is basically just push a pipe under the railroad using a hydraulic hammer. And Keith will explain more about that.
So as Nick said, it's more expensive to have to rip up the railroad and replace it and everything. So the cheaper option is just shove the pipe underneath it. And you can see how that's done right here. This is a time lapse. It's over a period of 15 minutes. So it's a pretty slow process. And it just gets pushed right under through rock. This is actually the casing right here. As you'll see on the next slide, the actual pipe will be slid into this right here, and so it'll go in a lot faster. And this is the actual pipe. You can see that slid in right here.
So once they had the pipe and everything installed in there, they basically injected what's called flowable fill in there, so basically concrete, because underneath the railroad, if that pipe leaks or something, you don't want it to cause settling or anything like that under the railroad, which would be really bad. So they injected concrete in there to make sure the pipe stays in place and won't cause any future problems. And then basically, since it's near the railroad, they had to restrain the pipe too, which you see on the left. They use what's called a mega lug harness. And basically, a worker will torque down the nuts on there, and they'll fall off when they reach the correct torque. So it's really simple, really easy. And since it's a state road, any trench digging that they did, they're required to compact and pave over every day. And once all the pipes installed and everything, our inspector, Danny Fazzino, on the job, was required to flush the main and test it. So this is him opening a hydrant and flushing the main. He said it's one of his favorite parts about the job. And then after the main's flushed, we took the samples up to Ricky and the guys at the Res 6 to make sure the main passed. So once it passed, we were able to reconnect all the businesses in the area to the new main, and this is what's going on right here. And one part of Hector's job is to kind of coordinate with businesses and residents in the area to let them know what time their water is going to be out, to kind of schedule with them. And this was really important in this area because there was a lot of medical offices. So he kind of reached out to them, asked them what time would work for them, and tried to give them a 24-hour notice just to alert them that their water would be out. And actually, they ran into a problem too. Our tapping crew got out there, and one of their pieces of equipment broke. So they were scheduled the water was scheduled to be out from like 11 to 2, and they didn't end up getting water back till like 5. So Hector had to, call the business owners, the medical offices, alert them. They had to cancel some patients, so it wasn't a good thing.
So the second project we focused on was in Rocky Hill. This was a sewer project. Basically, about 3/4 of a mile of pipe was lined in order to increase its durability, make it stronger, make it last longer. And this is part of the MDC Clean Water Project. So while this work was being done, they needed to set up a bypass so people could keep using sewer, because you can't shut that down for people the way you can water for a few hours. So this is a picture of the bypass pipe. Got a couple more here. And this is a picture of the pipe actually being lined. It kind of just wraps around the pipe like, I don't know, a bag around it. And this is a picture of the finished wrapped pipe, or lined pipe, now inside the manhole.
This was our third and final project. This was probably my most favorite one, I should say. This is at Kilkenny, it's in West Hartford. It's approximately 6,700 feet of 30-inch and 1,600 feet of 24-inch transmission main. It goes from all the way to Econ Health Center, all the way down to Farmington Ave. And this is a picture of them installing the pipe, as you can see. And with on the sides, they have this trench box, and that's for the construction workers' safety. Otherwise, the sides can fall in and collapse, and that can cause someone's life to end. And this is the bigger area of Kilkenny. Safety is very important with this whole construction. You don't want anybody getting hurt, otherwise it's a big lawsuit, and that just means more money that we lose.
So the final department we worked with was the survey department. So surveying is one of the first steps in planning and completing an MDC construction or maintenance project. So the department makes survey measurements, determines property boundaries, and marks out locations for underground utilities. And the data we acquire through survey provides data used for engineering, map making, land elevation, construction, easements, and a few other purposes.
So one of the things I got to do with survey was to go out to Barkhamsted and take elevations on top of the dam. It's basically like an annual survey they have to do to check for any settlement or movement of the dam. And we just shot some catch basins, and you can see the slab up there. So it was nice to go out there. It's always nice to go out to Barkhamsted. Then you see it taking the elevation on top of the water, and you see Rich on the left there taking a leveling shot.
Thanks. Bye.
I also went out with John Kula to there's this housing development by UHart. Basically, they're demolishing it, and we had to go mark out, find manholes in like the field like that, and mark out our 20-foot right of way so they don't hit our sewer.
And for this job, we had to locate a manhole that was not found. What we had to do was go down the railroad, and we used a wheel measurement system to detect how many feet we've gone through. And we had a basic understanding of how far we have to go behind the manhole, and as you can see, it gets pretty,
Right at the entrance of West Hartford. Relief valve.
the vegetation we have to cut down with machetes if we have to,
Totally relief
if not
valve.
find it, because we have to see if it's still there, if it's
Another thing I got to do with survey was they're looking at doing improvements to the aquatic water pollution control facility. So we went out there, took some, we had to go inside the trickling filters, take some elevations of the high and low flow arms in there, and then we also had to go up on the hill next to the admin building and take, I think it was like 150 GPS shots. And with those, we imported them into the computer and made, using AutoCAD, we made a topographic map of it and put it in the filing cabinet for future reference.
And this is the sewer study. As you can see, we were trying to get the elevation, and we have to get the elevation of the top of the hood. And we also have to see what pipes are coming in, which pipes are coming out, and what direction, if they're going in north, east, south, and west. And they're doing that for both the pictures. The left is the manhole, and the right is the catch basin. And for the catch basin, they just want to make sure everything's clear and everything's running smooth.
And this was parked next door one day. It was a giant potato, so I thought it was funny. It was 95 degrees that day, so it was probably a giant baked potato by the end of the day. But and there's a lot of people who like to thank Toby Krantz, Hector, all the HR interns, Kamari, Lexi, everybody else in HR for putting on the program.
I'd also like to give a nice shout out to Ricky Bobby. He's a great guy. We had a great time too.